Welcome to Scoop Order. It is Wednesday. Clemson follows suit with the ACC. Happened yesterday. We're going to get into that today. New options at running back. DeMarco Murray gets a 3-year extension at Oklahoma. Huge raise. Shocks a lot of people in the Woody Hayes. So it's very interesting how all that went down. Got to get into that as well. Along with Pro Day. Pro Day was great. Mike Hall had a virtuoso performance. 4.7, 540. Weighted at 299, which means that boy drank a lot of water. Might have had some 5-pound waist taped to his butt cheeks when he got on the scale. But hey, he's there. He hit that number, and could he hit the first round? I think he easily could. Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau also dominated as underclassmen. They worked out to give Mike a little bit of a breather. So we're going to go through all of that. As always, we appreciate you guys kicking it with us each and every day. We hit 30,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. We've actually had about 100 new subscribers in the last about 14 hours or so. So we appreciate you guys so much. It's been surging upward. So thank you for everything you guys do for the channel. Over 30,000. The road to 50,000 starts here. But again, it's all because of you guys spreading the good word. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, send this to your biggest Ohio State supporter, friends, your biggest college football fans, whatever it is. We appreciate you guys spreading the good word. And also click that little alert bell so you guys never miss a live show. We're going at 7 every night, unless there's something fantastic going on. But we just appreciate you guys so much for supporting us, kicking it with us, and taking care of this channel, taking care of our veterans as well with Pay It Forward. Pay It Forward has been incredible. Signed up a ton of new members in the last few months on BuckeyeScoop.com. So it's going to be this is going to be a great little run. So Nevada, we'll start with Clemson because I think that the Clemson deal is something that people. It doesn't directly affect Ohio State necessarily, but this is a huge domino to fall. The fact that Clemson has sued the ACC, likely to exit, in all likelihood, you project them to the SEC. But how does this affect the Big Ten? And more importantly, how does this affect Ohio State?
Well, expansion is one of my favorite topics to talk about. I love talking about expansion. I've always loved talking about expansion. The sad thing is we have a better expert than I on the board on expansion in the Oracle. If you're on BuckeyeScoop.com, you see some of the stuff that he writes. We got to get him one of like those voice modulators or something like that, so we can get him on the air, so we can have like a thing with him, and he's talking with like one of those, I am the Oracle, and I will tell you about expansion, because he's so knowledgeable about this. I feel like such a piker, but from having talked to him and from having kind of gotten a download on from my particular contacts, his particular contacts, this is huge. As you're aware, or you may not be aware, Florida State is currently involved in a lawsuit with the ACC involving the grant of rights. They're basically saying that the grant of rights was misrepresented to them, that it was sold below market, that they were fraudulently induced to sign it, and they want to be able to get out of it in some form of negotiated settlement with the ACC, and that would basically, free up their right. Their media rights would revert back to them, and then they could go back out into the market and see if there was a home for them in the Big Ten or the SEC. Obviously, they're kind of streamlined into the Big Ten. Well, the big thing is that Clemson has now filed lawsuit against the ACC, alleging the same thing. So now the ACC is in a two-front war, one with Florida State, one with Clemson. You may or may not be aware that the current commissioner of the ACC is Jim Phillips, who was the AD at Northwestern for, I believe, like 13 years or something like that. So he's got kind of a Big Ten sensibility, Big Ten kind of connections, but he's now having to navigate two of his member schools, two of his biggest member schools, probably the two biggest member schools other than UNC, suing them over the grant of rights. So what's happening now is you're seeing kind of this. I always like to say, how did it happen? A little at first, then all at once. It's like the Pac-12's disintegration. You are now seeing the real-time disintegration of the ACC. The ACC will cease to exist as a conference, certainly as a football conference, here within the next. I mean, I hate to say time it, but 2 years. In 2 years, we'll be talking about the ACC the same way that we were talking about the Pac-12, which is kind of unthinkable. The Pac-12 was literally on the field probably the best conference in football, and they went from the best conference in football to gone in 12 months. And I think the same thing's going to happen with the ACC. And so now the Big Ten has basically been going out, checking to see who's available, what the media rights are worth, what they can come in at it, and you've got the two big dominoes from the ACC, as far as I'm concerned, are going to be Florida State, the first one to fall, but then the second one is kind of not a traditional thing you think of the ACC, but that's the Notre Dame one, because once the ACC is disintegrated and Notre Dame's going to have to find a home, that ultimately will be what drives them to a conference. I think that'll be what ultimately drives them to the Big Ten. So I say the first two dominoes of all of the ACC to the Big Ten will be Florida State and then Notre Dame, two big additions, and that would certainly those would certainly be worthy choices for the Big Ten on the next round of expansion.
Yeah, I think it'd be fantastic. And again, we've been projecting this for about 2 years now. The NFL models coming, the SEC and the Big Ten will be the two left standing, probably 24 teams per conference. And Clemson wants to get in the SEC, man. They want to get a piece of that pie. I mean, that TV money is serious. The domination of the SEC in the South is serious. The ACC is going to go bye-bye. It's going to be just like the Pac-12 that we used to know and love that has two teams now. Again, you don't want to get left behind, in this arms race. And these regents, these presidents, these athletic directors, the major donors at these schools, they don't want to be the school that's left, holding the bucket at the end of all this expansion. They want to get in with the SEC as fast as possible. Again, this has started with the Big Ten years ago with, Nebraska flipping and then Rutgers flipping. And now with streaming, it's not as geographical as it used to be. But now it's like, for the Big Ten, Notre Dame is almost a lock to come in now. And then you look at who could we get out of the ACC? Well, Florida State seems very obvious. Duke could be very obvious. North Carolina. I think it's fascinating. It's like playing Risk. It's like playing Monopoly. Like you're gathering up properties and trying to get your best hand. And it's going to be two conferences, the SEC versus the Big Ten every year. And I think that there's going to be some pride in what one wins. The way that the SEC is, the SEC has made it really cool for bad SEC schools to root for Alabama every year or Georgia every year to win the national championship. But that's what it's going to turn into. It's going to be kind of like the old American League, National League, 50 years ago when it was like blood and guts when those guys would play each other in the World Series or the All-Star game. Like that's what college football is going to turn into. And I love it. Because again, I'm a big fan of the direction of college football because I think that you're not going to have Ohio State playing Akron anymore. They're not going to play Youngstown State anymore. They're not going to play Western Kentucky. It's going to be all good games. So for those of you guys that like to watch great football, you win. If you guys like to go to great football, you win. There's a bunch of huge benefits to all of this because I like watching the big games. I'm like you guys, when we open up with Akron, I'm like, great. It was 77-7 or 10 or whatever it ends up being. Awesome. I'll get to see what the backups look like. Hopefully, if Ryan plays them. But it's going to be really good for college football. Nevada, how does this benefit Ohio State, and could this hurt Ohio State with the projected expansion of the Big Ten?
Well, look, as a fan, as a pure consumer of the product, you're absolutely right. You have more quality games, but our road to the national championship is just getting tougher. We talked about the road to the Big Ten championship this year. Now that you've gotten rid of the conferences, now that you've added Oregon and Washington and USC and UCLA to the mix, it's going to be tougher to be the Big Ten champion. So I think it kind of cuts both ways. But I think the interesting story to me is really about how the Big Ten has kind of seized the mantra of the national conference. Because you add a team like Florida State, and all of a sudden you think about you're going from Los Angeles up to Washington, all the way over to New York, all the way down to Florida. You're in all three time zones. You're not this midway. And the Big Ten was always a Midwestern conference, and now they're a national. They're like the only true national conference. They're playing in all three time zones, and from coast to coast, from north to south. And you contrast that with the SEC. The SEC really is a regional conference, and they're very southern, and that's not bad. They play great football, but you've got the national conference versus kind of the southern conference, and I like how that positions the Big Ten. I like that it positions them academically from a research standpoint, And certainly from a football and basketball standpoint, they're not going to take a backseat to just about anyone. So I'm excited. The games are going to become more and more meaningful. It's like the NFL where every game matters. Every game, you don't have any bye weeks in the NFL or anything like that. You have lesser tough games, but you're not really playing Akron's where you're blowing them out by 60 points. So I think the future as a football fan is going to just be lots of great quality games, probably an expanded playoff, and even beyond what we're experiencing right now. And lots of good Ohio State football dominance because Ohio State is really well positioned to take advantage of the new environment that we're being presented with.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a massive add to college football. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it was harder to win a national championship when I played or it is now. I mean, the harder part now is you got to play more games and you got to play better teams. But back then it was like you had to literally be in the top two, which is really tough to do in modern football. And we did it a couple of times, but we've seen a lot of really good Ohio State teams die on the vine that could have been competitive in a playoff format. That was something I talked about earlier today. I did a different podcast, did a quick interview and talked about the 05 team. If we could have got the playoffs, I think we could have made some noise because we played that Texas team to the wire. They won the national championship, and the Notre Dame team that we slammed, they obviously almost beat that USC team. So that would have been fun. But I think you're right. It has gotten a lot harder to win a national championship. Got some super chats coming in. Let's knock these out. Jared Haddle, the king of Chillicothe. Appreciate you, my man. As always, thank you for the 10. Just showing support for Pay It Forward. Thank you, my friend. We are signing up a lot of members to Pay It Forward nowadays, and it's all thanks to you guys, so we appreciate that. See you on the 13th, and I might have some Cuban cigars for you, KB. That'd be great. I mean, I can't smoke them inside, but I'll smoke them as soon as I get outside. If it's lit, I might not even go to the spring game because it might be more fun hanging out with Buckeye Scoop, and the spring game kind of stinks anymore, but I'm excited, to see some of those guys in Ohio Stadium for the first time, but I don't think we're going to see much of Caleb Downs or a lot of the starters in the game. But it's April 13th, 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. We will be there, bells and whistles on, myself, my wife Kim, and hundreds of Buckeye Scoop members via BuckeyeScoop.com, as well as this podcast. So come one, come all, bring your friends, your family, your parents, your dogs, maybe not your dogs, but you can tie them up outside. And I think we'll have a blast. I had a great talk with Mike Paul today. Actually had lunch with him at Buffalo Wild Wings. So shout out to Mike. Told him about, hey, I'm going to be driving people there. And he said, well, we got it fully staffed. So, hopefully they come through. And I was like, I think the Scoop family is going to come through in a big way. So I'm excited about it. But appreciate you, Jared. I cannot wait to see you. Catalina Wine Mixer is always on point in Chillicothe. And one of these days I'm going to get down there. If you do one in Delaware, Ohio, I will be there. But Chillicothe is a little bit of a drive when you've got a bunch of kids running around. Deb, what is up, my girl? Appreciate you. Deb Sobel, Scoop Ultra member. Also, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you as always. Congrats, Kirk in Nevada on the 30,000. Let me hear it, Nevada. OH.
I-O.
Thank you, Deb. We appreciate your support. Again, one of the great selling points when I talk to people that are prospective partners with Buckeye Scoop from a sponsorship level is that we do have a lot of women that watch the show. And they're very, very, they're sharp, they're smart, they leave great comments, they're in the chat. So it's a family-friendly show. So, Deb, you are one of the great women of Buckeye Scoops. I see you in the chats every single night. So I really appreciate you being on here. Again, my wife moderates the chat. So we got my old lady is working away, sniping people that act out of place. So thank you, Kim, for all that you do, along with our boys, Akeem and Devin, a.k.a. Treasure the Torah at Ohio 7715. Thank you for keeping the chat family-friendly and nice and clean. But thank you for those kind words, Deb. We appreciate you. Jam OSU, thanks for the deuce. Who is the running backs coach now? Well, it's Ryan Day as of right now. But if you're talking about who are the prospective candidates, I mean, it's been a whirlwind for Ryan Day. I'm stunned about DeMarco Murray because I was right in the middle of that thing last night, man. And they were like, Ryan was all over it. He was ready to rock. And DeMarco was letting everybody know, hey, I want to come to Ohio State. And then Oklahoma steps up and gives him a 3-year deal, which again, in the history of Ohio State football, I don't know how many assistant coaches outside of coordinators like Chip Kelly got a 3-year deal, not many assistant coaches get 3-year contracts as position coaches. So, but in the last week, Tony Alford got a 3-year deal at Michigan. DeMarco Murray got a 3-year deal to stay at Oklahoma. Obviously, got a nice pay raise. I was stunned. My sources I talked to were stunned. I was texting with them today, and they were like, "Wow, we thought." I mean, he was raring to go, but again, if you tack on that 3rd year, like a 3-year commitment, that's a huge commitment to a position coach who you've never worked with, and you don't know if he's any good. But Oklahoma felt compelled, and they backed up the Brinks truck to keep DeMarco. So again, like we're getting a lot of guys paid right now, but none of them have taken our job. So it's going to be interesting to see who we go with. Again, Sam Drayton's a guy that he makes a lot of sense. He's in Ohio. He's from Cleveland, head coach at Temple. They are literally the Titanic after it already scraped the iceberg, and it's been like 2 hours, and the engineer is saying, "Hey, the compartments are all full of water, and we've got 45 minutes before we're at the bottom of the ocean." Like that's where Temple is as a football program. So does Stan want to try to get out of that contract that he knows where he's going to get fired this year because the program is atrocious, and try to come back to Ohio State, try to resurrect his career, make $800,000-$900,000 as a running backs coach? Does he want to do that? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to leave a head coaching job, but sometimes it's better to, I guess, leave before you're left, because that's kind of what some of these head coaches that are leaving to be position coaches, I think they're leaving because they know they're going to get whacked. So Stan Drayton is a guy I'd pay attention to. Like I said, I worked with Stan. I know Stan very well. The two guys that make the most sense to me are him and Dylan McCullough. We talked about Dylan. Dylan, Miami of Ohio guy, played for the Miami Redskins back when they were the Redskins instead of the Red Hawks. His sons obviously were recruited. His one son was recruited here. He was a star linebacker, was committed here. Then he flipped to Indiana, and then of course, before he even gets to Indiana, Dylan leaves Indiana, which is why you should never go where your dad's coaching, because that can always change. But Dylan ends up going to Notre Dame, and then the kids portal to Oklahoma, where they play for an atrociously bad defense. And the kid really should be starting at linebacker for Ohio State this year, but he's at Oklahoma, which is fine. And like a real dark horse is Tashard Choice. But Tashard Choice is tough because Texas pays their assistants. So you want to get into a bidding war with the Texas Longhorns. Like that's not very advantageous for the old Buckeyes. So I don't know. Kind of back to the drawing board. I think they're running out of some plan A guys, but Ryan and Chip Kelly have the best running back room in the country. And frankly, I don't think you need some Mozart to come in and run the position room because running backs is the least important position to coach other than tight ends. And when you've got Trey and Quinshawn, like it's really not, you don't need to go out and get some, $1 million running backs coach to coach those two, because those guys are dynamic, and I think they're going to be monsters this year. But Nevada, your thoughts on the running back coaching search? Because the DeMarco Murray thing was shocking to a lot of people in the Woody Hayes, including the head duck. But your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think they thought they had him. They thought they had him. They were lining him up to talk with the players and kind of do that whole player buy-in type of thingy, and then it all kind of fell apart. So yeah, I've been doing this so long, I'm not surprised by much anymore. But that was surprising because I think Ryan thought he had him, Ohio State thought he had him, Ross thought he had him, and then they didn't have him. So I think generally these things work out for the best. I mean, the only thing that I'm at complete peace on right now, because I honestly, we tell you when we know, and when we tell you when we don't, or we tell you when we think we know, but I don't know who the coach is. I don't think Ryan Day knows right now who the next running backs coach is going to be. So any name that we throw out, whether it be McCullough, whether it be Drayton, I think it's a guess, because Ryan doesn't even know. And, that's on pretty good authority from people that kind of handle that stuff for Ryan as of right before we went on the show. So I think right now we're kind of doing it, but whoever we get is an upgrade over Drayton. I'm just telling, or excuse me, over Alford. It's an upgrade over Tony Alford. I've always had that position. My position has not changed. I don't even have to know the name. It'll be an upgrade over him. And if we somehow manage to find the person who's not an upgrade over Tony Alford, I will say that on the air loudly when it happens. But I guarantee you, whether it's plan A minus, B plus, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be fine, and it's going to be a better situation. These things have always worked out, so I'm eager to see what names kind of pop up if they're new. I mean, I like the Drayton one, like you said. I've always felt it's better to leave a job boots up than boots down, and he knows he's leaving boots down if he hangs around because he's going to get fired. It's going to be messy. That thing's a mess. They want to get rid of him. He's making $2.5 million a year, I believe, as the head coach at Temple, and just it's not worked out. So I think for him to kind of mitigate that, work out some sort of negotiated settlement, then be able to get some money from Ohio State. Stan could come out of this pretty well as have some sort of longevity going forward. So I still think that's a live possibility, but we'll see because, like I said, as of this moment, Ryan Day doesn't even know the answer to that question, so we can't give it to you because he doesn't have it. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, guys, like, we give you guys the stuff as we get it, and it's good. So, I mean, the DeMarco thing was very well sourced, and the people I talked to that were in the middle of that were shocked that, because he was the guy saying, hey, I want to come, but then Oklahoma said, hey, we'll give you this big new deal, and magically, I mean, it's his alma mater. Like, he played at Oklahoma. I'm sure that he dreams of being the head coach at Oklahoma one day. Deshaun Foster just went from running backs coach to head coach. If Brett Venables spits the bit again, could they promote DeMarco Murray to be a head coach? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, he's got the name. He's a Sooner legend. He's on the staff. And, like when a guy gets whacked, they got to make I mean, there's been a lot of these running backs that are popular players from their times as a player at their alma mater. And you look at Cadillac Williams, like he got promoted to be the head coach at Auburn, and they didn't retain him as the head coach. But these guys are getting cracks as head coaches because it's a popular guy that a lot of fans liked and they rallied around, and they might have wore their jersey and they might have gotten autographs signed by him. So when you promote a guy like Deshaun Foster at UCLA or Cadillac Williams at Auburn, like, it could kind of give the fan base a little jolt. And DeMarco, if Brett Venables keeps doing what he's doing, man, he's going to be gone probably after next season at best, because he's got a huge contract, but they've been terrible. And I mean, I don't agree with signing a defensive guy to be the head coach basically ever for the rest of football, unless his name's Kirby Smart. But I don't even know how good Kirby Smart is. Kirby Smart, I think, is a fantastic coach, but Georgia has the most talent in the country. I mean, outside of Ohio State, Georgia is absolutely loaded. So if you put Kirby Smart at a mediocre program, how good would he be? I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. He was at Alabama as the D coordinator, so he had the best players in the country. Then he went to Georgia, who's the new most talented team in the country. So I just think that offense is the meta, and DeMarco could be a candidate to be a head coach there. So they gave him a big fat new deal. Gave him a promotion, gave him a raise. And again, they gave him a 3-year contract, which again is very uncommon for assistant coaches. So that's where we're at with it. I mean, there's, again, I think Dylan McCullough and Stan Drayton are two guys that I'd watch. Then I think you're getting down into the B tier after that, if we're being honest. Sean, thank you for the 10. JJ McCarthy in the first round is a joke. Unproven pocket passer and decent athlete smells like a mid-round pick to me. What am I missing? What first QB simply handed the ball off their entire collegiate career? I mean, I'm not arguing with you on that. I mean, I think that the problem with the draft is GMs are so hypercentric on trying to find a franchise quarterback that guys that, if they were that productive at a normal position, they'd be mid-round guys, second-round guys. But a quarterback, I mean, they got to find a guy. They got to find a face of the franchise. They got to find a guy who's all football, and JJ kind of is that. He's a winner. You can't deny that. Even if they cheated, whatever, but he won a national championship last year, even after Stallings was gone. So I don't like him. I would never draft him. I think that he's like, a lot of these guys that they weren't asked to do much in college. He had an incredible defense and an incredible running game and a great offensive line that won the Joe Moore Award 2 years in a row while he was there. So how good is he? I don't know. But again, these teams, man, they're so desperate to find a quarterback that they'll, you see guys that like Zach Wilson went second overall. Sam Darnold just signed for like $12 million by the Minnesota Vikings. And he was the backup who couldn't beat out Brock Purdy last year. So guys are desperate to find this. Nevada, I know you're about to absolutely destroy JJ McCarthy, but your thoughts on JJ McCarthy? Because I've seen drafts that have him as high as the second pick, which over Drake May, are you crazy? Let alone the kid from LSU. But I mean, this is like the ultimate silly season. But your thoughts on JJ McCarthy?
Well, look, this is not a Michigan hate thing. I've said this before. Packers fan, probably one of my favorite players of all time for the Packers was Charles Woodson. Loved Charles Woodson on the Packers. Thought he was a great Packer. Loved him as a player. Loved Desmond Howard for all his 80 IQ rantings on ESPN when he was returning kicks for the Packers and won Super Bowl MVP against the Patriots. Love me some Desmond Howard. So I can love Michigan players and get past the Michiganness of them. The thing with McCarthy, McCarthy has not been an accurate passer or a particularly effective downfield passer anywhere. Not in junior high school, not in high school, not in college. So how they're figuring that he's going to just magically morph into a guy. I mean, Sam Darnold could spin the ball. When you watch Sam Darnold at USC, Sam Darnold could throw the football down the field. Now, he didn't turn out to be a great NFL quarterback. He's a journeyman. He made a little bit of money, just started some games, done some things. But at least he could throw the ball. I mean, McCarthy, with McCarthy, you're getting a guy he's not Josh Allen big. He's not Lamar Jackson fast, and he can't pass the ball. So you're getting all the moxie and none of the talent. And I do not get it. Now watch him go on to become Fran Tarkenton and become the greatest quarterback in the NFL. And you guys can play this tape back for me over and over again. But I don't think I'm wrong on this one. I do not see it. What I'd say is if he works out, he'll be the first quarterback of his ilk that ever worked out in the NFL that I can ever think of. Like, find me another quarterback that just has never demonstrated ability to pass the football at any level that succeeded in the NFL. I don't think that that's a thing. But maybe JJ will defy all the things. But I don't see it.
Thomas Taylor, the best. He sent us this in real time, a graphic to support you, Nevada. JJ McCarthy before and after Connor Stallions resigned. 8 games before, 5 games after. A massive drop in everything. So numbers don't lie, folks. Nevada, would you take JJ McCarthy or Bo Nix if you were a GM at like the 11th spot for the Vikings?
Oh, dude, I would take Bo Nix in a second over JJ McCarthy. I mean, Bo Nix at least is throwing the ball down the field. I mean, yeah. JJ McCarthy is like a 3rd round pick type of guy. And when you're talking about these mocks that have him in the top 5, I just feel like it's absolutely the silly season. But I got to give Harbaugh credit. Harbaugh said this. I mean, when Jim Harbaugh got that Chargers job, he talked about how high J.J. McCarthy was going to go, and I thought it was just the rantings of a lunatic. But he's going to end up to be right on that, and I tip my hat because I did not believe that he could con this many teams. And again, what has he done? It's not even like, well, Nevada, he went to the NFL Combine and ran a 4.31, or Nevada, he went to the Pro Day and made 67 completions. I mean, he hasn't done anything. He didn't do anything during the season to merit it, and he hasn't done anything after the season to merit it. So I literally just don't get it at all. And we can review this one. I will gladly go back and forth on this one in the future because I think Baker Mayfield is 100 times better, and I hated Baker, but I think he's 100 times better prospect than J.J. McCarthy ever will be.
Well, it's just funny when you look at like 2 of his last 3 games. The Iowa game, he 20 for 30 for 147 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, sacked 4 times. The Bama game, he was a little better, 17 for 27 for 221, 3 touchdowns, no sacks. Then Washington, which was the national championship game, 10 for 18 for 140 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 1 pick. QBR of 58, which is atrocious. So I don't see it, but I just these GMs, like, I mean, their whole livelihood depends on finding a quarterback. That's why you see Deshaun Watson get a fully guaranteed deal, and Russell Wilson, the worst trade in the history of football, the Seahawks trade, and Bryce Young getting the Bears fleecing the Carolina Panthers for Bryce Young. I mean, it's just That's what it is, man. I mean, it's so these GMs are desperate to save their jobs, so they got to find a quarterback. Stephen Luter, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you. Love the show. Just joined today. Thank you for joining Scoop Ultra. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the 5. Your knowledge insider information is fantastic, and you aren't PC. We're definitely not PC. It's refreshing. What happened to DeMarco? The DeMarco thing is shocking to not just us, but I mean, if you look around, basically everybody thought he was going to be the guy, including Ryan Day. And that thing was on in the fast lane last night. And I talked to people that are very high up, that are very affiliated with Ohio State via Oklahoma, business people, and they wanted Ryan to know, hey, he wants the job. And then, like I said, Oklahoma stepped up. They gave him a crap ton of money. Again, it's his alma mater, which I think it does make it a little different. If it's all even, and I'm not sure if Ryan would have given him a 3-year deal. Like a 3-year deal, that's a big commitment for a guy that has never worked for you before. Who doesn't have a huge pedigree. I mean, he's only been coaching for a few years. So, but Oklahoma gave him 3 years, gave him a big bump. And, I think that's what happened. I think that, when they stepped up to the plate, it's kind of like Tony Alford. Like Tony Alford, had a 1-year deal, $780,000, whatever it was. And Michigan gives him another, $70,000 to go to $850 and a 3-year deal. And Tony jumped and stabbed everybody in the back and left. And, it's just, that's kind of what happens. There's, like I said, I can't remember if we've had a position coach ever that wasn't a coordinator sign a 3-year contract. So, right. Normally these are 2-year deals, maybe a 1-year tack on extension. 3-year deal, that's a big commitment because that's a lot of money. If the guy stinks or he gets in the building and he's just not a fit. And, you've seen Ryan. I mean, Ryan's had Mike Yurcich for 1 year. He's had, Halfley left after 1 year. There's been guys that after 1 or 2 years, they've been Kerry Combs was a 2-year guy. You see guys that are disasters. And so you don't want to really give a guy a 3rd year and then that eats into your salary cap because, like that money's got to come from somewhere. So if you're handing out these, and Ryan's given out some atrocious contracts. So, to give a guy that you don't really know a 3rd year, I don't know. Nevada, again, Stephen Luter, again, thank you for joining Scoop Ultra. Again, appreciate all of our Scoop Ultra members. That goes to pay it forward. So you guys are helping out a lot of really good people that I've got to know implicitly well, which has been awesome. Stephen Luter says, loves the show. Just joined at Scoop Ultra today. Your knowledge and insider information is fantastic and you aren't PC. It's refreshing. What happened to DeMarco? Do you have anything to add to the DeMarco Murray chase?
Yeah, I'm just not sure. The one thing I want to dig and get, I am not sure, kind of like it's the old who's zooming who. I'm not sure if Ryan Day got any derogatory information about DeMarco that caused him to kind of pull back, or if DeMarco just kind of took it the line, because this thing fell apart really quickly. And the fact that, I mean, I just don't believe that it was about the 3rd year or about the contract with Oklahoma. I have to believe there's more to the story, because the way that it kind of unwound, and it unwound as quickly as it did, it went from red light to, or green light to red light, just all of a sudden, and then bang, and all of a sudden he's walking into a 3-year deal with Oklahoma. I don't know. I got to dig more to get an answer. I don't want to speak out of school and say something else, but something just doesn't seem right to me. I understand guys interviewing to try to better their position, but I mean, Ohio State admin thought they had him. I mean, they thought this was like, he was the guy. It's like the girlfriend that you think's the one, and you're going to introduce her to the kids and the dog and the family, and then all of a sudden, she's off on some motorcycle with some guy heading down to Cancun or something like that, and you're like, what the heck just happened? I thought this was going so well. So I think Ohio State is a little taken aback by what happened. But I need to find out if they were the ones backing off or if they got backed off. But I'll get the information on that and let you guys know.
Yeah, like I said, I thought it was a tremendous fit because you got to remember Ryan Day coached the quarterbacks for the Eagles and they signed Murray to like a $45 million deal, and Chip Kelly was the head coach, and Chip Kelly like gave LaShawn McCoy, other players in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles, to bring in DeMarco. So that wasn't an easy move, but he did it. So it all made sense to me, but then, at the last minute things changed. But again, do I really care? Not really. I mean, I could go coach Trey Henderson and Quinshon and they'd be just fine. So whoever we get will be very good. Somebody's going to get to coach the best running back room in the country. And as long as the players are there, I really don't care who the coach is. Because at that position, that is like, it's like coaching, Dikembe Mutombo or something. Like, I mean, I don't have to be some genius to teach him how to block shots when he's 7'2" and he's athletic and he can time up how to block. So that's kind of what a great running back is they're kind of born and then you just kind of stay out of their way and you kind of just enhance what they know how to do. Paul Lewis, 6 for the 100. Appreciate you, brother. Oh, you're coming. I love it. High scoop and wrenches. I like that. The wrenches. That's what I'm going to call. That means you too, Kim. So we got Kimbo and we got Devin and we got Akeem, aka Tora and Devin 7715 or 7755. I appreciate you. Kirk making the journey to Lane and High from Zionsville, Indiana, bringing you a surprise. I hope that's good. I hope it's chicken wings, because we're gonna have chicken wings already there. We're gonna have beer already there. So whatever else you need, I think it'll be there. It's gonna be a blast. Again, for those of you guys that need someone to tailgate for the spring game or somewhere to watch the spring game, because we might not make it to the spring game. I'm just telling you. April 13th, 9 a.m. to 11:30. Buffalo Wild Wings, who is a title sponsor of Buckeye Scoop, 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. It's going to be a blast. So I hope to see all of your smiling faces there. Bring the wives, bring the kids. It'll be a great morning for football and to talk football and to meet a lot of you guys. So I appreciate you, Paul, as always. Thank you for the 100. Nevada, any guess on what the surprise from Paul Lewis could be?
I think it's going to be that Paul is wearing Scoop gear, and so he wants a free beer. Because if you get, with our stores open for another 48 hours, going to be closing on Friday, repthescoop.com. If you wear Scoop gear, you might get a free beer. So maybe that's what it is. It could be him coming all this way in order to try to get us a free beer out of you. That seems like he's playing the long game there, potentially. But that's all I got.
Scoop gear, free beer. I like that. Give the Nevadabucks credit card some fear. Make the Nevadabuck cry a lot of tears. There we go. Yeah. That's going to be our rap song, our Scoop rap song. Everyone wants Nevadabuck's free beer. That'll be the deal. Sergio Salmon, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, man. Congrats on 30,000. Thank you. You guys were not thrilled with Stan as an option. The old Freudian slip, Nevada. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Why are people not chomping at the bit for this job? I don't know. That's a shock to me that DeMarco turned it down. I don't know. Nevada, I'll let you take this one first. I've done the last few, but are you surprised that people aren't this hasn't been snapped up already by somebody?
I mean, yes and no. Yes, because I think it is the most desirable running back's job in the country. No, in that we're swinging at the big dogs. It's like that. You're going after you're going after Gillespie. You're going after Murray. You're going after guys that are very coveted by where they are, and you're in kind of a market right now where top coaches are commanding top dollar, and teams are rude to lose them. So you've got a situation with Gillespie down in Alabama where they're throwing titles and money and opportunity at him to stay. Obviously, the same thing with DeMarco. So I think if you're looking at the wider market, there's been vast interest in the job. It's just a question of, are these the people that Ryan wants to go to? And while our list is certainly the people that we've heard about and the people that we know, I mean, I bet you he's been contacted easily by 100 people. Easily. It's just a question of, are those the people that he wants to go to? Now, I think that 99 of them would be upgrades over Alford. And I really, truly believe, because I really, truly believe that Nevadabuck could just roll off the couch and coach the running backs better. And I definitely could recruit better than Alford. I guarantee you that I would never have a recruiting class where we would not have one running back in the class. Nevadabuck would refuse to accept that, and we'd get a running back in every class. And so I think that we're gonna end up in a good spot. I just don't know who it's going to be right now. But I just think that the on the small sample size of Gillespie and Murray, we've gone 0 for 2. But that doesn't mean that there's not profound interest in the job, because there absolutely is. It's a premier job, and then we'll end up with a premier guy. And as for the 30,000, I want to make one point on the 30,000 subscribers. We don't buy subscribers. If you don't know what that means, I mean, you can buy subscribers. You can go out there and you can buy like names, like bots that put in your thing. So tomorrow we could go buy 20,000 subscribers and say, oh, now we're at 50,000 subscribers, but we don't do that because one, it's silly. Two, we just think who you kidding. So we've added this all organically. But I just want to say some of our competitors, they buy. They buy the thing. And how do you know that? You go to the analytics and you can see that there's charts that literally show their analytics for every site in the world, and they'll show like spikes of like 3,000 new members in one day. And let me tell you, that's not how it works. I'm not going to call them out right now, but I might if I get loose after the spring game. But we didn't buy. We're at 30,000 subscribers, and we're on our way to Kirk wearing a moo for the 50,000th show, and very happy to have everybody here. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a lot like a lot of you guys are social media people. You guys have been on Twitter and Instagram and any other. It's like when someone has like hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram or Twitter and they get no engagement, no retweets, no likes, no favorites, no nothing. It kind of says, well, are those real followers or something doesn't smell right? It's like when people get 1,000 views on every video, but they have, tens of thousands of subscribers. Like, it doesn't smell right. It means that they're buying bots, and bots don't watch videos. So again, it's just all eye candy to fool people. But like, we don't do that because I think it's stupid, and I don't think it helps the channel. So we're all organic over here, baby. Just like you're in a good fruit section. So appreciate you guys as always. Steven, thank you again for the 10, and thanks for being a Scoop Ultra member. I saw you joined today, so thank you so much. Extremely optimistic about our chances this season, but I'm concerned about our ability to get the ball to play in Playmakers' hands and keep everyone happy. Good problem to have, but what are your thoughts? Well, I'd rather have too many playmakers than too few. And I think that there's a good culture around the offense about sharing touches. I mean, obviously, Trey Henderson gave up, a lot of carries by going and getting Quinshon Judkins. I mean, he literally went out and recruited him, but these guys are business people. I mean, I think that numbers don't matter as much as they used to with analytics and with seeing how fast guys are and how you can measure their speed. Like, I think that it really makes it, it's less about just looking at a box score and saying, oh, this guy had 30 carries for 210 yards and 6 touchdowns. Like, that's all well and good. But if you own an NFL franchise and you're an owner, general manager, coach, running backs coach, like running backs and receivers, if they have less tread on the tires, less hits, but maximum ability, I think that's better. Actually, I know that's better. I mean, I would prefer a guy like Josh Jacobs who didn't start until his last year at Alabama, and he got to the NFL. He was fresh. He had multiple Pro Bowl seasons. Just signed a nice deal with the Packers. To a guy like Trent Richardson who was beat up, got a ton of carries during his career, and just kind of the wheels just kind of fell off when he got to the NFL. So I think that anytime there can be a little bit of a platoon system at running back, I think it's huge. And at receiver, there's a really good culture that Brian Hartline has built in that room where guys, they wait their turn, they're unselfish. It's not all about gimme, gimme, gimme. I need more touches. I need more targets. Everybody wants the ball. Everybody wants targets. Everybody wants to score touchdowns and get to the league. But, the guys that are the top dogs, they've done really well without a ton of stats. I mean, you look at guys that have developed. I mean, Jackson Smith-Njigba didn't even play his last year, and he went first round and had a really nice rookie season. So I think if you're getting developed and you have enough film that shows how great you are, like Jackson Smith-Njigba did, it doesn't really matter if you're getting touches. So I think that the culture of the offense is really good right now. I think Chip Kelly's going to enhance it. But I love your thoughts on it, Nevada. Again, Stephen Luter, again, thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member, and thank you for the 10. He says he's extremely optimistic about our chances this season, but he's concerned about our ability to get the ball in Playmakers' hands, which might be a little bit of concern about Will Howard and Devin Brown, and also keeping everybody happy, which is a Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, Brian Hartline, whoever the running backs coach is problem. It is a good problem to have, but what are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Well, one, I share your optimism. I could not be more bullish about the 2024 season. I think everything's just fallen perfectly for the Buckeyes to be one of those great seasons. I mean, the recipe's all there: overwhelming talent, favorable schedule, veteran leadership, great staff. You've got all the expanded playoff So there's very little things that could trip us up. Very little like random. It's like when you're betting on MMA UFC fights. There are some random outcomes like eye poke or disqualification or something that could keep you from victory. There's very little random things that could happen to Ohio State that would keep them from victory this year, given the fact that we've got so many different paths to win. So that's on the optimism thing. On the playmaker side, look, you've got Chip Kelly, who is the mad scientist of offense, and he's a guy that understands that mouths need to be fed, that guys need to get the ball, and he loves to get the ball to guys in different ways and all over the field and threaten the defenses from different standpoints. So I think if there ever was a guy that you'd want as your offensive coordinator when you've got kind of an abundance of talent, it's a guy like Chip Kelly, calling the plays and managing the offense. And as Kirk said, I think it's a great point and can't be stated enough. We have a great culture at Ohio State. It's an unselfish culture. It was put on display, Exhibit A, by Trey Henderson, personally recruiting Quinshon Judkins. No, that doesn't happen. Nobody does that in modern football, and it happened. And so I think you've got a culture of, hey, the scouts are going to see you. You don't need to be a stat monster. You don't need to be a ball hog. Nobody needs to be the guy that gets it all the time, because you're going to get yours at Ohio State, one, and you're going to get paid if you ball out. So I think we're in good shape from that standpoint. And it's like you said, it's a high class problem to have, but I don't think it's much of an issue given the staff and the makeup of these players.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think these guys are they're going to be excited, and there's a culture that is not very selfish in that receivers room, which is the one that a lot of people worry about because there's so much talent in there. C. Brown, thank you for the 5. With expansion, the schedule will get tougher. Do we lower expectations for wins and losses? What does that adjustment feel like / what's a quality record? That is a great question. I think you do. And again, I don't like saying it because you're getting soft and you're weak and whatever. But when you start playing better teams, more guys, there's gonna be more injuries because you're playing against bigger, more violent opponents. It's just gonna turn into the NFL. It's gonna turn into got to make the playoffs. Again, did the Kansas City Chiefs have a good season? Well, I think they did. They won the Super Bowl. They were 11-6. So there were 6 Sundays where they walked off the field, including like Christmas Eve, where they lost to the Las Vegas Raiders. And, the Vegas Raiders were in the middle of they fired their coach and interim coach, who's now their head coach. So, but if you go 11-6 in the NFL, college football is a lot like the NFL anyways right now, in the fact that if Ohio State doesn't win the national championship, the season is deemed a failure by our fan base. And it's also deemed a failure by Ohio State because, again, I live that, and this is not me crying, but the standard is the standard. I mean, I've been on 05, 06, 07. We won the Big Ten. 06 or 07, we won the outright Big Ten. This is before there was a championship game, because now you can only win the outright Big Ten because you play in the Big Ten title game. But back then, in 05, we split it. 06, 07, we were outright. And they don't have 10-year anniversaries for the teams that win the Big Ten in football. They don't celebrate the teams that just win the Big Ten in football. They only celebrate the teams that win the national title, which is fine. I'm good with it. I like the standard being the standard. But I think that going forward, if it becomes that NFL, that AFC, NFC, Big Ten, SEC model, and we don't get 7 cream puffs a year anymore, and we start playing like real teams, I think that you have to adjust a little bit. It can't just be, oh my God, we lost the game. Let's all go jump off. Let's all go jump with the Olentangy River off the bridge on Lane Avenue. I think that that's just kind of where it's going to be. And again, if Ohio State lost 3 games or 4 games, or even if Ohio State lost to Michigan, which again, this is going to be a travesty and people are going to excommunicate me from the Ohio State community. But if they lose to Michigan somehow and make the playoffs and run the table and win the national championship, that season will be a success. I'm sorry. I've got plenty of gold pants. I have no national championship ring. I would trade all of my gold pants for a national championship ring. I can assure you. And that'll happen at some point in our lifetime where, we lose a couple games, but we get in the playoffs and we win a national title. And guess what? Everyone's going to be excited. Everyone's going to be happy. and that's going to be the new normal. But I like it. I love the expanded playoff. I love where college football is heading. I think everything's going to be more exciting. There's going to be more great football than there ever has been. Because again, I don't get excited to get ready to open up versus the Akron Zips and Western Kentucky and Youngs. And again, something against those schools, but they all suck, and they're all like seven. They're like 7 touchdown underdogs when they come to the Horseshoe. So, like, is anybody really excited for that game other than just to be there for the game? I guess there's less anxiety because you can't really lose to those teams. But I love when we get to see Oregon or we get to see Michigan or we get to see Penn State. Like, those are the games people get excited about. But I want your thoughts on this, Nevada. Again, C. Brown, thank you for the 5. And I love your AVI of the American flag. That's beautiful. With the expansion, the schedule will get tougher. Do we lower expectations for wins and losses? What does that adjustment feel like? / what's a quality record?
Well, I think the line for me is going to probably be 2 losses. Anything below 2 losses in the regular season is going to be considered really, really good, and anything above 2 losses is going to be marginal. But to your point, it's not going to be disqualificative. You could lose 3 games, and if they expand the playoff further, you could probably lose 4 games and still qualify. In a 16-team playoff, certainly you can lose 3 games and do it in a 14. And if you run the table, nobody's going to care. Look, the Chiefs were considered dead. Like everybody, it was over for the Chiefs when they lost the Raiders. It was over. This was a failed season. It just didn't. Was the Taylor Swift curse. Everything was bad, and somehow they found a way to right the ship, win some games at the end, and then now they're the Super Bowl champions. So I think you're gonna have a lot more seasons like that. And as a fan, you're gonna have to completely change the way you watch college football, because we've all been conditioned to watch football a certain way. I've been watching football for 5 decades or whatever it is, and you're just conditioned. Okay, if we lose this game, it's all over. If this happens, we're done. If this happens, we can't win. If this happens, the season's a failure. And everything that about college football has got to go out the window. You've got to recalibrate and look at it in the lens through the lens of an expanded playoff of what's the most important thing: health and hot. Are you healthy, and is your team hot come playoff time? That's all that really matters. These games in the beginning of the season that are important, that are fun, they're a nice kind of measuring stick to see where you're at. They might matter for seeding. I'm not sure how significant seeding's really going to be at the end of the day on this, because is there a real difference between playing a 5-12 game and being the 4 seed and getting a bye? Not sure there is. Maybe it's actually beneficial to playing as the 5 seed and staying hot, but I don't know. We're going to all find it out together. But everybody's going to have to recalibrate, because it's a different day, a different type of experience, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I love it, and I think it's going to be great for college football, because you think about all the teams. I mean, Ohio State would have made this expanded playoff the last 10 years, which is literally going back to the entire 4-team playoff. They would have made it every single year. They've always been in the top 12. So why would you not want this if you're an Ohio State fan? Because we've had some teams that, like the 15 team, the 18 team, the 19 team, 21 they could have done serious damage, if not won the whole thing, if they got hot. 21 team gave Georgia all they could handle, and Georgia was back-to-back national champions, and we should have beat them. So, again, I think this will be a huge benefit for Ohio State, because you're not going to have like some dumb vote that leaves you out as number 5 or number 6 because you trip up in some dumb game. You'll still have a chance to rectify it, and you'll have something to play for after like a dumb loss, like the Purdue loss, the Iowa loss, like whatever. I think it's going to be exciting for these guys. JJ Cam, thank you for the deuce. Why did we keep Alford for so long? Well, that's a great question. I think Ryan wanted to get rid of him. But it was a little complicated with Travion coming back, obviously. Then you get Quinshon Judkins, and it's hard to ice a guy after your superstar running back comes back for his senior year. I don't know if that's fair to Trey. And also, you go out and get Quinshon Judkins, like it would just seem bizarre, like it seemed like a cluster. But he left anyways, so maybe Ryan's intuition failed him in that moment. But Obviously, you cut the grass low so you can get rid of the snakes, and Tony Alford is clearly a snake. He's now gone. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada? Why did we keep Tony Alford so long? Because Tony's been, if not the worst coach, like I'm talking, obviously Parker Fleming's in a category of his own, but Tony and Keenan Bailey were the worst coaches on staff last year. They would have been the worst coaches on staff this year. Again, lethargic recruiter, nominal, if not below average developer. But your thoughts on Tony Alford? Because again, we literally had a recruiting class where we did not sign a single running back, which I would bet a decent sum of money that's never happened in the history of Ohio State football, at least for the last 25 years. But it happened under his watch. But your thoughts on that?
Well, I think when you go back to the story is really, and I've said this before. I don't want to be the old guy that repeats himself, but Tony was the classic employee who did just enough to keep his job, and just when you're getting ready to put him on a program, just when you're getting ready to show him the door, just when you're getting ready to, they get an order and it comes in, and you're like, oh man, this guy he just got an order. I can't fire him right now, and then he goes back to being, terrible. And it goes and goes and goes. And you're like, okay, now we're getting ready. And another order comes in. And you're like, man, can't do it. That's kind of how his recruiting was. You look, he'd have these long kind of, patches of nothingness. And then he'd get some guys that are just good enough to be like, oh man, okay, we can't really fire him now. And like you said, after whiffing on a class completely, then you get Quinshon Judkins. You look at the room, you're like, wow, we got James Peoples, we got Dallin, we got Trey, we got Quinshon. Man, do we really fire him right now? So I think he was just good enough, or lucky enough, or fortunate enough, or whatever it was to keep. But I think it was a mistake. I've been saying it for years. I think they should have moved on from him on their terms instead of on Alford's terms. And but hey, look, Ryan's had a perfect offseason. He's been drawing aces on everything that he's been doing so far. And so I am absolutely convinced that when your luck's running good, man, I'm a gambler in Vegas. And when your luck's running good, it just runs good. And so you stay out of the way of it. And Ryan's on a heater right now. So I don't doubt that he's going to pull one out. And he's going to end up with somebody that we're going to go, wow, good pull. He did it again. Because he's just on one of those streaks right now. And I'm going to ride with Day until proven otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. Like this will be, no matter who we hire, it'll be an upgrade. So this is not a loss. If anything, it's a gain because our worst coach just went to Michigan and they paid him a 3-year deal. So I'm ecstatic, and I can't wait to see who we end up with. Poohbeard 12, my man. Thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member. Thank you for the 10. What's up with the Kaden Proctor transfer? When you have to sit out a year, is going back to Bama a loophole, or is the NCAA too toothless to enforce it? P.S. The massive T is so nice. I bought it twice. Thank you. Appreciate that. The Proctor transfer is very, very strange. Obviously, Kaden Proctor was committed to Iowa for a long time. He flipped last second to go to Alabama. Went to Alabama. Started as a freshman at left tackle. Kind of rotated some games where he was struggling. Didn't have a great year, but he was a freshman All-American because there just frankly aren't many freshman tackles at play, so it's not really hard to be a freshman All-American at tackle. But he was, and obviously his 5-star status and everything, that all goes into voting for that. When you have to sit out here, that's what I thought the rule was. But again, the thing about these rules is they're made to be broken, and I always feel like there's some attorney like Thomas Mars or somebody that'll write a waiver up and say, oh, well, he had, depression or anxiety or long COVID or something, and he had to go back to Bama to feel better, or the mental health from leaving Alabama made him not proficient. So there's always like these waivers where these guys file and they end up coming back. So I'm sure if he's making this move that he has researched that, because I'm sure he's not going to go to Alabama and play scout team for a year as opposed to playing at Iowa. But you can't transfer twice in the same year, let alone the same 3 months, which he's doing. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. And it'll be interesting to see how the NCAA reacts. Nevada, your thoughts on Kaden Proctor transferring back to Iowa And do you think he has to sit out here? 'Cause that was my understanding of the rule, because they don't want these kids entering the portal like every 6 months. Because, if you don't penalize them for transferring a second time in a year, then, I mean, it's like infinite transfers essentially.
Yeah, what I was told, and I don't know if this is right, but I'm just going to tell you what I was told. I was told that because there were a couple of things that could have potentially tripped him up. One would have been had he taken money from the Iowa Collective. I've been told he didn't take any money from the Iowa collectives, which would be one potential bugaboo. The second is that he hasn't practiced with the Iowa football team. And I was told if those two things didn't happen, that that would somehow free him up to portal back, transfer back, whatever you want to call it, back to where from whence he came. So that's what I was told. I don't know if that's accurate. It sounded fairly credible to me when I heard it. I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. So I think that what I was told is the red lines that had he crossed would have triggered the you can't go back home again certainly for a year, was practice or money. And since neither one of those was triggered, I'm told that he can go back. I don't. Again, I could have that completely wrong, and we may have people that are better versed on compliance issues. I could check with the Oracle on that and see what he says. He would know intimately about the ramifications for that. But that is my understanding.
I think it's interesting, but you know, this is why I tell guys to get all bent out of shape when we don't land these tackles. Like, a lot of these guys, they're 5-star guys, they're mama's boys, they don't leave home. So he goes to Bama, then he comes home. He doesn't really have much of a home to go from. And again, I don't know his background, but it seems a little different. And then he's going right back to Alabama. So when guys do this kind of drama queen stuff and their offensive lineman, it always raises a red flag to me. It's a lot like Jackson Carman. Jackson Carman showed up and said that Dwayne Haskins should play over JT Barrett, which, give or take, he might have been right about that, maybe not. But, he was like a 17-year-old and Kirk Herbstreit criticized him, and then he shot back and he went to Clemson, had like an okay career. His last game of his career was Ohio State, just absolutely dog walking those guys in the Sugar Bowl in 2020. And then he gets drafted by the Bengals, and he's likely to get cut this offseason because he's been atrocious. So, when people freak out about us losing some of these 5-star kids and they are drama queens, I never raise my blood pressure a single iota, just because I've seen this movie too many times. Like Seantrell Henderson was the guy that, oh my God, he's, Tom Lemming had the dumbest comparison of all time. He said he was a mix of Orlando Pace and Jonathan Ogden. And I'm like, why would you ever say that some big fat kid from Minnesota who's blocked a bunch of little white hockey players would ever be in the pantheon of Orlando Pace and Jonathan Ogden? And I watched this tape and I was like, this kid sucks. And then all of a sudden he goes to SC. They get hit by sanctions. He transfers to Miami. He's there for like 4 years. He does the pro day. He falls out of pro day. He goes like 6th or 7th round, bounces around the NFL for 2 or 3 years, and never did anything of impact. Never got a huge deal. Never. And this guy was the number one player in the entire country. And when we lost him to USC on National Signing Day, you would have thought the world was ending in Columbus, Ohio. And I'm just like, this kid will end up sucking because he doesn't have the mentality. He doesn't have the support, doesn't have the infrastructure, and he's a big fat blob. So, a lot of people, they want to jump off the bridge. And I'm like, well, how about we wait and see how these guys pan out? Because some of these guys obviously that are superstars, they end up being superstars. Like Laramie Tunsil was the best player I've ever seen on tape at offensive tackle. And mind you, like tape only goes back the last 15, 20 years. Like I'm not talking about Betamaxes of Orlando Pace in 1993 or whatever. I'm talking about like on YouTube, you can watch it. He was a different animal. He looked like a 30-year-old when he was 16. But those guys don't exist very often. And those guys aren't generally that clean and that good and that dominant and that technically sound from such a young age. But, that's why I always tell guys, I'm like, look, offensive line, I know that everybody likes to be stargazing and, oh my God, we're not landing 5 stars, but go get some dudes that are big and have length and want to grind, like Thayer Munford, like, Josh Myers, like, Wyatt was a 5-star, but Josh has been better in the NFL. Josh is a grinder. He's a tough kid. He's really good. Jonah Jackson just signed a huge deal. wasn't a 5-star. Go give me some of those guys and just watch them go grind teams into hamburger because of how tough and how nasty they are. Let alone the virtuoso line that we had in 14 of Taylor Decker, who was a 4-star and a really good player, Elfline, who was a 3-star, Billy Price, who was probably a 4-star defensive tackle, Jacoby Bourne was absolutely a 3-star, and they probably would have rated him a 2-star if they had such a thing. Daryl Baldwin, who was a 3-star, and that team beat Alabama, they beat Oregon, and they made all of you people happy because they won a national championship. And again, on National Signing Day, nobody was excited about any of those guys. People were more excited about Kyle Dotson than they were Taylor Decker. I lived that. And I was like, Taylor's going to be way better than Kyle because Taylor's way smarter. He works harder, better ankle flexion. Just everything about the kid was better. So again, don't be better. Don't be a stargazer because people get so obsessed with that stuff. It drives me nuts because I've seen a lot of these kids hit the side of the mountain because they think that when they arrive at Ohio State as a 5-star guy, that they've arrived. And that's just the beginning of the race, that it's not the end of the race. So give me some grinders like Marvin Harrison Jr., classic grinder. That guy wasn't the highest rated guy. He might have been the 3rd highest rated receiver in the Ohio State receiving class. And look where he's going to get drafted versus the other guys that were in that class with him. Tony Turley, my man, thank you for the 20. Thanks for being a Scoop Ultra member as well. Guys, please offer my name to Ryan Day for running backs coach. Tony, you'd kill it as running backs coach. And I don't think Ryan can afford you, frankly. I used to be able to run. I'm willing to take a pay cut. See, I told you they couldn't afford you. And let's hope the background check is cursory. It is. They have a pretty serious background check at Ohio State. Thoughts, Nevada OH?
I-O.
Tony, I forgot to say this. Tony wanted me to let the Scoop family audience know if you're coming into town, the Blackwell, which is by far the best hotel for a game day experience, which is right across from Ohio Stadium, actually did have some vacancies. So Tony will be at Buffalo Wild Wings on Saturday morning. He is a Scoop Hall of Famer, along with Devin and Akeem, Treasure the Tour and Ohio 7715. So we appreciate all 3 of you. But Tony, I think you do great at it. You can yell good. You're really sharp. You could run a Freedom of Information Act request versus Michigan to dig for information. I think that'd be fantastic. But I think you do a great job as a running backs coach, especially with Trey Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, because if you have way better players than everybody, magically you look like a much better coach. So I think you'd be fantastic at that. Nevada, Tony wants us to offer his name to Ryan Day for the running backs coach position. And because he used to be able to run, he's willing to take less money, which is good. And he hopes that the background check is cursory. Do you think Tony Turley would make a fantastic or an amazing running backs coach?
I think a fantastically amazing running backs coach. But the problem would be, would it cut into his time spent here on the podcast? And if that's going to be a casualty, I'm not sure that's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make. We can't lose one of our Hall of Famers to just bolster Ryan Day's running back room. So I'm going to have to vote thumbs down on that. I think it's a solid suggestion, but I think that Tony is required here as part of the Buckeye Scoop community, and I think that's a more pressing need than the running backs room, and that's the final answer.
Yes, because you and I are more talented at podcasting than Trey and Quinshon are at running backs.
Facts.
Facts. Big facts.
Big
Can't wait for
facts.
people to run with that one. That was a good one. Tony, you're the best. I appreciate you, my man. But I can't wait to see Trey and Quinshon, man. Those guys are going to be awesome this year. D. Sonny, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. Oh, I always love when you ask questions because I always know they're going to be really good. If you're a head coach and a team tries to take an assistant that you need, is it a mad scramble to call donors or do you just talk to the AD? Well, I think it depends on where you are and who is approaching. And, because again, if you're at Ohio State, it's different because you've got the money to match pretty much any offer, provided it's an equal gig. Like if it's running backs coach going to be another, that's the thing about Tony Alford. Tony Alford left for a lateral move, which normally, you would try to block if possible. But, there's also this thing where you don't want a disgruntled employee in your building. I just think it depends on who it is. I'm sure that Oklahoma probably had some donors step up and foot the bill to give DeMarco extra security, extra money. I'm sure that his deal is probably similar to Tony Alford's. He's probably making $700,000-800,000. Probably got get that third year, so he's probably 2.5 million or so, I'd guess. Because that's what the market is at right now for a top of the market guy. And frankly, I think DeMarco's got a much bigger upside than Tony does because he's younger. He's a much bigger name, and he's a guy that I think he can recruit his face off, and I think he's going to do a great job at Oklahoma. And I was really excited about him coming here. But I would, if you're Ryan, you got to go through the AD to get to the donors. Like, he's not just going to call a donor and say, hey, we need money. I'm sure you talk to the AD and see, what's the budget looking like, and can we retain this guy, and that type of deal. And again, it's always a sliding scale, because do you want to retain a guy? Maybe you want the guy to leave. I mean, Ryan Day wanted Tony Alford to leave. I mean, this was as clear as day that he didn't extend him. It seemed like a very frosty relationship, and Tony left, and he stabbed Ryan in the back. He did it on Ryan's birthday. I mean, it was a pretty epic meltdown by Tony to leave on Ryan's birthday and go to Michigan, of all places. But he did it, which is fine. But I think you got to talk to your athletic director. You got to talk to Ross Bjork, and hey, if say, totally hypothetical, like Texas came and wanted to make Brian Hartline a $3 million co-coordinator, like, can you match it? Do we have the money to match it? Is he worth it? Like, I mean, there's a lot of things you have to kind of tick and run past your athletic director to have the money for it. I'm sure Ohio State has the money for it. Is it worth allocating it to Brian? And what does that do to the rest of the room? Does everybody else want to raise now? Does everybody else want an extension? So there's a lot of moving parts when you do that. Nevada, if you're a head coach and a team tries to take an assistant that you need, do you believe that the first call from Ryan Day is to the donors or to the athletic director?
It's to the AD. Ryan basically, he's just like the CEO of the company. He has a budget, just like everybody else. When he needs a budget exemption, which is something that's kind of fallen outside the normal constructs of his budget, he goes to the AD for the money, and then they make a decision whether or not they can find money for the exception. And at Ohio State, it's a challenge in that that they've got the money. I mean, they've got the money for whatever they want to spend. And the thing is, now these are kind of classic games of chicken between the agents and Ohio State, because the agents know, like, for a guy like Brian Hartline. If Brian Hartline came in and said, hey, I've got an offer from XYZ place at whatever million, I mean, Ohio State almost has to match that. And the thing is, Brian Hartline's agent knows that. So that's why these salaries keep going up and up and up. And that's why guys like DeMarco Murray can go in there and demand a 3-year extension from Oklahoma, because the guys are in demand. People are willing to pay it. And these schools all have money. And so, they're not in a place that's broke. So if you've got the money, you want to retain your staff, you want to stay on it, then you keep ponying up, and salaries keep going up and up and up. But no, this would be a Ryan Day to Ross Bjork thing, and that's how a deal like that would get done.
Yeah, and I think that, again, it's a sliding scale. If you've got leverage and people love you, then I think it's going to be a good day when it comes to renegotiating. Some of these guys are finding that out. Paul Lewis, thank you for the 50. Appreciate you, brother. We'll be wearing my Scoop shirt, and it's something Nevada would love to own. Ooh. What would Nevada like to own? His own Buffalo Wild Wings franchise, maybe? I don't know.
No. Well, first of all, I'm going to just say it right now. Paul Lewis, got to be a Hall of Famer.
Of course.
We have to have a vote right now to expand the Hall of Fame by one member. I think Paul is we're just going to initiate Paul into the into the Hall of Fame. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Easily. Easy money.
Paul,
and Paul's going to be here. Tony's going to be here. I'd love to get Akeem and Devin here. I think that they'll be here when we'll have another one of these in season. It'll be a blast. But I'm excited to see it, man. I'm excited to see what this is. When you say something Nevada would love to own, that's tough, because I don't think you're going to bring us the Las Vegas Raiders, but
I would love that. That'd be so much fun.
He's not going to own the Cosmopolitan. Of things that he potentially could have owned that he does not own, that he had a chance to own, you're not going to bring us to the UFC. That one still stings.
No, not the pink monkey's off the table too.
The pink monkey. Oh my god, that was a bad night. Um, I don't know. I mean, and put it in the chat. I want to know, what do you think Paul Lewis is going to bring that Nevada would have loved to own? Because that is going to be perplexing me, and I can't wait to. I wish I could simulate the next few weeks and fast forward to the event. Because this is going to drive me nuts. I'm excited to see what you're going to bring, Paul. God, yeah. I wonder if it's like some like trading card, or what do you like? The
Ooh.
Thunder Chicken or the Thunder Chicken? What's the card that you like?
The
T-Bird.
Thunder?
The T-Bird.
The
Yeah,
Thunder.
What do you like Thunderbirds or Firebirds? Or what's the card you like? The T-Bird? Is it T-Bird?
Oh my god.
What's the old card? What's the old card that you like?
It's the T205. T stands for tobacco. Okay. And
No, I'm talking about a car that you drive.
Car. I thought you were saying cards. I think
no, I'm not.
No, super. He's not going to wear a super bird. He's going to bring a super bird.
A super chicken. Yeah, he's going to bring a super chicken.
Not super chicken. Super chicken was a cartoon. I can sing this super chicken song.
That's what I said. I was like, is it a Thunderbird or Firebird?
No.
It's like you said, it's a super bird. I was close.
I did the prefix. Superbird.
Super burger. I like it.
Travis
Hall,
monkey.
The pink monkey. Travis Hall, thank you for the 5. Kirk, outside of B-Dubs, best wings in Columbus. I'll be staying in town Friday night before the meetup, Nevada OH.
I.O.
For me, by far, it's Twin Peaks. I love Twin Peaks' wings. They've got grilled, smoked wings. Again, I love fried wings. They're great. If you don't want to feel like, crud, don't get breading. And if they have grilled ones, those are great. B-Dubs, their desert heat is my favorite wing flavor in existence right now. Their truffalo that they don't have anymore. I literally ate all the truffalo sauce in Ohio, I think. Shout out Mike Paul. He was getting me the truffalo sauce from all over the country. Because it seemed like I was the only one that liked it. They do these promotional flavors, and like I couldn't get enough of it. And when it went away, I was I was a sad panda. But I love Twin Peaks' wings because I like their. They've got a hot honey that's great. They've got a lemon pepper that's great. And then there's some days I just buy the Reaper because I just feel like I want to kill. I just want to sweat until I'm going to die. So I eat some of these Reaper ones that are. I don't know if it's like a ghost pepper or what it is, but those are really good. So I'd say Twin Peaks for sure. But I'd love to hear your comments. Thurman's has good wings too. If you guys ever go down to Thurman's, I know it's a burger joint, but they make ridiculously good wings. So those are my picks. So I like B-Dubs, Twin Peaks. Those are excellent. Nevada, like for like a chain in Ohio, is there a place whose wings you like outside of B-Dubs or even like nationally? Because you're more of like a burger guy. Like I've never seen you eat a chicken wing before, but when we went to B-Dubs together, you had a burger.
I don't even like chicken wings. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm one of the people. I don't like chicken wings. I just don't.
That's fine.
It's a lot of work for very little thing, and I'd rather just like you give me a smash burger, give me an. I mean, I am a burger guy. I when I go to Columbus, I'm going to Thurman's. I think you and I've been to Thurman's together. I believe that is true at some point. And I like burgers. Everything about burgers makes me happy. Chicken wings they kind of annoy me, to be honest with you. So.
Not me. That's my favorite food outside of like a great sub. But I love I'll tell you what, B-Dubs. I had lunch at B-Dubs today with Mike Paul, man. They've got 2 new burgers. They've got a mushroom Swiss burger, they've got a triple cheese bacon burger. And that triple cheese bacon burger was it was insanely good. Smash burger. And I can't wait to get on the Stairmaster for about 3 hours tonight to burn it off. It's gonna take about that long to get the sodium out of my body, but I'm ready to rock. I've got a lot of energy and I'm excited about it, but it was very good. And it's they got a bunch of new menu items. So like when I go in there and I see the big new, I'm excited to try it out. Buckeye Blitz, thank you for the 5. No question, just congrats on the massive milestone. My favorite word in the English language is now massive. 30,000 quality subs. Can't wait for the Scoop meetup. Hopefully the gear gets here in time. Nevada OH.
I.O.
That is the plan, and I'm going to push for it. We're going to shut the store down, and we're going to do everything humanly possible to get the gear to you guys so you guys can wear it to the meetup. I think that'll be fantastic. I'm very excited about it. Yeah. So again, bring your friends, your family, your wives, your girlfriends. If you have a wife and a girlfriend, probably don't bring them at the same time. Bring the kids, bring everybody. It's going to be a great time. And hopefully we overwhelm the place and they're just like, holy cow, the Scoop family is crazy. But I'm really excited to see all of you guys. And my wife's going to be there. She'll be there. She is pregnant as can be. So she's going to be out there chilling, drinking mocktails, which are always fun. And your boy is going to have a few cold drafts and probably a quesadilla, something easy because I'm going to be surely meeting a lot of people, so I can't be having like hot sauce all over my face from eating chicken wings. So I got to be really cognizant of that. Clay Alders, Mountain Gilly, appreciate you, my man. Thanks for bringing Scoop Ultra Memory. Thanks for the 5. Oh my God, Nevada, was that you? Were you excited were you mad that I called the T-Bird instead of the Thunderbird? Nevada just rang off, so he's got to go take care of the dogs. That's a family show, man. We got dogs and wives, so you gotta understand that sometimes stuff happens. 30,000 organic subscribers is amazing. Congrats. It is because you guys have built a community. Sounds like Shof picked up a few orders today. Again, Shof's been awesome. Again, Shof made me this amazing knife, which is awesome. It's very sharp. And honestly, since I don't usually have home break-ins and we stay strapped around the Barton household, it's a great back scratcher. I'm not going to lie. But this thing is very heavy because this is a railroad spike. So if you guys can see this, this is a heavy knife. And I have a ton of knives and a ton of guns. And, I just like having this thing around because, again, when you get that itch and you're a big dude and you're a little stiff, it's just absolute money. So, Shof, appreciate you, brother. And if you guys have not followed Shof's site on Facebook, he is streaming. He's a blacksmith, which is awesome. So he beats on the sword like he's in the Game of Thrones and builds swords and knives and really cool gifts. Like if you want to support someone in the Ohio State community, check him out because his stuff is sweet. And this knife is like, there's nothing cooler than having a custom knife made for you. I think I've determined that. So Nevada, Clay Alders, who's Mountain Gilly, Scoop Ultra member, was just congratulating us on having 30,000 organic subscribers, which is huge. And I said, congrats. He says, because you guys have built a community. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I apologize for I had a dog fight right here. I'm there and I have 4 rescue dogs and 3 of them just like generally sleep the whole day. And one of them's like a puppy and he annoys the other 3. And they were like fighting over a bone and it became like this big dog fight right here in front of me. So apologize for that. No, love the community. Love what we built. So excited to be here every day. And you guys know that. You guys can tell. You guys can smell authenticity and you can smell inauthenticity. And Kirk and I are like 2 kids getting ready for school every day, getting ready to do this because we really love hanging out with our friends. And that's why I feel, I'm jealous that I'm not going to be able to be there at B-Dubs for the spring game, but I will be there in August if we do one for the grand opening. Nevada will make an appearance at that, and that will definitely be mayhem.
And Nevada will be there in spirit, i.e. His credit card will be there because if you wear some gear, you can get a beer on Nevadabuck. So he'll be there. Maybe. He'll probably be more popular than me because again, nothing beats a cold beer, especially when Nevadabuck is paying for it.
But if your gear ain't there, blame the big guy that's there.
If your gear ain't there, blame the big bear. There you go. That'll be our t-shirt. We'll put that on the billboard. People could just attack me. We get like a dunk tank out front. They can throw softballs at me and make me go in the cold water. That'd be perfect if the gear's not there in time. Donald and Karen Rosbach, appreciate you so much. Thank you for the Scoop Ultra member. Thank you for being awesome members of BuckeyeScoop.com. You're among a ton of people that have converted from just being podcast watchers to being full BuckeyeScoop.com members, which is awesome. So I love seeing you on there, my friend. Thank you for the 5. We're looking forward to 50,000 subscribers so we can see Burke Carton in a moo-moo. That will happen. I will literally order a Buckeye Scoop moo-moo and I'll get it embroidered And I swear to God, I'm going to do it. And honestly, at this rate, we'll probably be doing it by the middle of the football season. So keep on subscribing, keep spreading the good word. I'll look like Homer Simpson in that one episode where he decided to get really fat and he walked around in a muumuu. That's what I'm going to look like. And I'm excited for it. Nevada, are you excited to see Bert Carton in a movie? Because that was your idea. Like I never even, I was like a muumuu, but 50K is 50K and a promise is a promise. But your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, it's going to be both exciting and disturbing at the same time. And you're right. I think your timeline's right. It's going to be probably in the middle of the football season, end of this year. The way that we're growing every day, it's so exciting seeing those numbers kind of crank up. And it's because you give us those likes. It's because you give us that engagement, and that triggers more more people to get this on their recommended feed. So if you want to give us a like, help us out. Just hit that little thumbs up. Really helps us out. It helps other people find the site as well, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, I can't believe that like I'm actually gonna get a Buckeye Scoop muumuu, but if I'm gonna wear a muumuu, it's gonna be stylish because that's just what I do. But for those of you that aren't as fashionable as me, that is a muumuu. So it looks like a giant dress. So there's Homer Simpson in the one episode where he got real fat and he wore the muumuu. So there he is in the muumuu with the little baseball cap thing on and the old Commodore 64 computer from back in the day. So that's probably how I'll look podcasting. I'll have the broomstick and I'll just be moving the mouse around and stuff and doing the super chats that way. So that is a muumuu. So 50,000, I will be in a muumuu. I'll probably have to stand up and do a little twirl so I can prove it so it doesn't just look like another one of my hoodies. But hey, deal's a deal. Sean Rollins, King of Worcester. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the 10. Thank you for the Scoop Ultra membership as well. I hope you're having a great night. If you have a question, toss it in the chat, and one of the Goon Squad, aka Akeem and Devin, they will both send it to me because not only are they moderators, but they're also content creators, and they actually they do a really fantastic job of keeping me in the loop if I miss something. So Akeem has multiple times told me, Kirk, I got this question. Hey, don't forget this one, because this thing can get crazy sometimes. Like the chat's going like crazy. We talk about a ton of stuff, and it's really it's a blessing. It's really fun. I love doing it. Like I said, I just appreciate you guys. So my boy Mountain Gilly, who is a great dude, and who I really appreciate. Let me dig this thing up right quick. He sent me a really nice note. So you were just on here, Clay. So let me find your email. I'm clicking on it right now. But you talked about Knife Magazine. It's so funny that you say that because Akeem, aka Treasure the Torah, literally just showed that through the power of Buckeye Nation, our boy Shof, who is now streaming some blacksmith work, is now featured in Knife Magazine. So this is thanks to Clay Alders, aka Mountain Gilly, who was just up a second ago. Again, you see Super Chat Ultra Buckeye Nation, and look who the author is, our boy Clay. So Shove Steel Workshop is a Buckeye Scoop friend, a friend of the show. He was our first Super Chat tonight, and Clay writes for Knife Magazine, which is one of the largest knife publications. So this is kind of the power of the Buckeye Scoop network, because he talked about what he did, the blacksmithing, and wrote a really nice article. There's your boy. I made the article. That's amazing. So there I am. And I honestly had not seen this article until 2 seconds ago, but there's our boy Shof hammering away with an anvil. Just the same exact anvil that got dropped on Wile E. Coyote by the Roadrunner. So he's going to town on a knife. But yeah, you guys can check this out at knifemagazine.com. This is some of the work that Shof's done. So again, this isn't like a paid testimonial, but it just it shows how cool and eclectic the community is, because I didn't know any blacksmiths before I started the show, but I met Shof, and I know a guy that runs Knife Magazine. So again, you guys would be shocked, and it's a good reason why joining BuckeyeScoop.com is really good for your livelihood, your life. You don't know who's on there because there's some really substantial people on there, what they do for business, who runs Knife Magazine, who's a blacksmith. So it's really a cool community. Like, it's amazing that happens. So I just want to thank you, Clay, and obviously Show for getting that done. But that's really, really cool. So I just had to say that. And Sean, I appreciate you, my man. Griffin, thank you for the 5. OSU Michigan series is 61, 52, and 6. Prediction on when we even the series. I say we tie it at 66 and 15 years, 2038. 11-4 in the regular season, 3-1 in the postseason. I like that. Nevada, I'll let you go first. Griffin, who's a Scoop Ultra member and also gave us a nice 5. Appreciate you, my man. He is asking, how long will it take for us to catch up to Michigan? There are 9 wins ahead of us right now. How many years until we pass them?
Well, does that count the vacated, the wins that are going to be vacated? I think that's got to be something.
That's a great question, because I think you have to count those.
Yeah. So, I mean, at least a couple of those are coming off, and those are going to be vacated. So that's going to narrow it there a little bit quicker. So, I think it's probably going to be a couple of years faster than you think. I mean, if you look at the historical dominance that Ohio State's had in this series, it's been crazy over the last 20 years. And, I think we've had this little 3-year, multi-year cheating aberration, but that's gone. Those days are over. And, I think we start piling on them starting this year. So I'll say within the next 10 years, we pass them easy.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I think in 10 years we pass them. I think we're going to go on another run this year. I think the roster's depleted, and I think that they regress back to the mean. They're going back to the Brady Hoke days. I thought Jim Harbaugh was a great coach. I mean, he's weird. He wears khakis every day, drinks milk at every meal, eats milk and steak and hamburgers, and he's a weird dude, but he's a great football coach. So before him, the Brady Hoke era, the Rich Rod era, I think that's where they're going to slide back to. And I think that the fact, it's kind of like Bama. Like Bama, Kalen DeBoer has got, a lot on his plate, man, to replace the GOAT. And I think that we're going to regress back to the mean, to where they used to be, because I don't think they can keep up that ferocity that they had with Saban. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. I think Michigan's going to be in that same boat. Jerry McStevens, thank you for the 5. Did we win the Natty this year? And is Howard the deal? Is Howard real? Excuse me. I think he is. I mean, I think Will Howard's good, but I think Devin Brown's good too, man. Devin's having a nice 3 first practices, man. I will not count out Devin Brown. I know it's crazy. I know he got banged up in the Cotton Bowl, so a lot of people are down on the guy, but I think it's going to be a good competition. I think Devin's going to stick it out. I hope nothing changes and he doesn't portal, but I think it's going to be really competitive. And again, the thing I tell people with Devin and Will competing for the starting job is whoever wins is going to be an all Big Ten level quarterback. And that'll be enough for us to win a national championship with how talented and how deep our defense is and how good the infrastructure is around him. I think the offensive line is going to be significantly better. Like, I talked to 2 guys that are really good players on the team, and they're just like, the O-line's much better this year. And they weren't offensive linemen either. Because again, like the O-line in general is not going to dog out O-linemen. But I talked to guys that were, really, really significant players, and they're like, the O-line's going to be really good. Like, they're noticeably much better than last year. And I think that's the Chip Kelly effect. I think Chip Kelly puts the premium on toughness. I think that he adds an edge to the O-line that, frankly, Corey Dennis wasn't capable of just because he had no experience there. But, Chip Kelly was an offensive line coach, and he's coached defense, O-line, running backs, quarterbacks, offensive coordinator, head coach. So Chip's, he knows more than the average throwing game guy. Like, he knows a lot more than Brian Hartline does know about the O-line or Keenan Bailey or those types of guys, because he actually had to coach the position, 20-ish years ago. And I think he's going to add a lot of value to the room, and he's going to make that group better the same way that I thought Kevin Wilson did. Nevada, and I do think we win a national championship this year. Nevada, do we win a national championship this year? And is Will Howard real?
Yes and yes. I mean, Will Howard's the real deal, and that's not denigrating to Devin. Who I like, big fan. I've said this many times. We're going to need both of them. There's impossible to go through a season this long with this many quality games that you're not going to need your backup quarterback to make big plays for you, not just taking a knee, not just going in the victory formation, but we're going to need our backup to make big plays for us this year. I think they're both capable of doing that. But Will Howard is absolutely the truth. The other guys know it. He's a big horse and a great kid. Really got it. And I think that's going to be. I think he'll be the guy that leads us to the national championship this year. I think it's all lined up that way, and I'm excited for it.
Totally agree. Chocolate Chip Scoochie, thanks for the deuce. be massive. Like the video. Yeah, I like that. If you guys could click like right now, that'd be huge on our video. Again, those are huge for our YouTube channel, for growing it. We don't grow the channel without you guys. And this is a huge video because you guys made it one. We got a ton of you guys watching right now. So if you guys want to hit that like button, we'd appreciate it. It's always great to see the channel grow. So I appreciate you. Chocolate Chip Scoochie, good seeing you on here. Karis Washington, thanks for the deuce. Thanks for being an Ultra member. Good news, I can go to the meetup and you do not have to work. That's awesome. I knew your wife was going to show up. Bring the family, dude. It'll be awesome. I'm looking forward to meeting you. Kim will be excited to meet everybody, so it'll be a blast. I think people are going to be really excited to meet each other. And again, it's going to be a nice eclectic group of Buckeye Scoop message board people, Buckeye Scoop podcast people. Like, we're putting this thing out there for Buffalo Wild Wings because we really want to blow the doors off. We want to impress them, and I need people to show. And I think I'm not going to be anything other than honest. Like, I want this to be an event where they're absolutely overwhelmed. They can't believe how many people from Buckeye Scoop showed up, because I think that that's going to happen. I think there's going to be a great crowd, great fun, and they'll be like, "Holy cow, these guys are serious." Because again, if we blow the doors off, then guess what? We're gonna be doing it again real soon. Around football games, maybe Friday meetups, whatever we want to do. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I'm just looking forward to meeting a lot of you guys in person, because this is like a thing where it's interesting because you always feel like you know people, but you haven't met them, because that's the nature of the beast when you do a show like this. But I see a lot of you guys every night. You guys support the channel. You guys support Pay It Forward. It's fantastic, and we're very grateful for you guys. But I really can't wait to thank you guys in person. So very happy that you're going to be able to make it, Karis. I'm glad you got off work. That'll be absolutely epic, and I'm excited for it. Jerry McStevens, thanks for the deuce. You asked, I think you might have accidentally asked this twice. That's the same exact question. Will we win the Natties here? Yes. And is Will Howard will? Yes. But I appreciate you, my man. Thank you for being on here. Nevada, I don't think that your answer has changed, so I'm going to assume that you think we're going to win the Natty, and Will Howard is real. I think Will Howard's going to be awesome this year. So, but again, I think Devin Brown's going to be good. So may the best man win, and whoever we have as our quarterback will be a Heisman finalist, in my opinion. So I'm excited about that. Donald and Karen Rosbeck, again, thank you for the deuce, and thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member. Nevada, this is a great question. This is a nice, easy T-ball question. Nevada, how much do you hate Michigan? And also Nevada OH. Nevada, how much do you hate Michigan?
I really hate Michigan. I mean, I really, and the thing is, I got to be honest with you. I didn't always hate Michigan like that. I always disliked Michigan. I always wanted to beat Michigan. I was always depressed if we lost to Michigan. Those great, formative years in the 70s when we play those great games, and every game was 12-10, 10-10. I mean, just, unbelievable back and forth. But the recent shenanigans, I hate Michigan for cheating. I hate Michigan for cheating, C.J. Stroud out of a Heisman Trophy. I hate Michigan out cheating us out of a potential national championship. I hate the fact that they would resort to something so disgusting, and then I hate the way that they acted afterwards in terms of just the pure audacity, oh, this is nothing wrong. Oh, it's just a cheeseburger. Oh, that stuff. So, yeah, I hate them, and I want really terrible things to happen to them, and that probably makes me a bad person. But something, I'm okay with them. I'm at peace with where I'm at with my Michigan hate, because I really do hate them.
So you're not like me, a laissez-faire hater?
I'm not soft like the big cuddly bear. I'm not. I'm just not.
Why am I soft towards Michigan? I'm soft on crime. I'm soft on hating Michigan.
Look, you disparaged Orlando Pace today.
Oh my God, we're sending him gear.
And now you're soft on Michigan. I don't even know who you are. You're a stranger to me. You used to be so tough, man. You played, man. You were the toughest SOB out there on the field. And now what's happening to you?
Me and Tony Alford were the same size sweat jackets. I love it. It'll be perfect. He's going to send me a bunch of them. All right, Jeremy Moreland, thanks for the deuce. Mango habanero, great flavor, and blue cheese, also delicious. Yeah, Buffalo Wild Wings has great sauces, man. They get bottled by T. Marzetti, that's who makes like the really good salad dressings at the grocery store. They're not oil based like Roosters, so they're really, really good. Like the Rooster sauce, like you bring it home and you put it in the fridge and it turns into a brick of. I mean, I haven't eaten Roosters in years, but B-Dubs is much, much better, and it's much more high quality food. So I love it. I'm excited for it. Mango habanero and blue cheese. Like I love hearing what people's combinations are from sauce to dip. So that's always cool to see that. So Jeremy, hope you make it out, man. I'm excited to see you as well. I think it's going to be an absolute blast. Don Schaefer, thank you for the 10. And thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member as well. Do you think the latest discussions regarding the new 14-team playoff format that specified discussions with ND would mean AD may be able to stay independent? I don't think there's any way you can stay independent with what's coming in the playoffs, especially with the ACC dissolving right before our eyes, being sued by Florida State and Clemson. I think ND's got to jump in the boat and quick. But I think that they're trying to hold out and feign having leverage because Notre Dame they're obviously one of the top brands in the country. They're not one of the top teams in the country, but they're one of the top brands in the country. So it would be exquisite to add them to the Big Ten just because when Notre Dame comes to town, people get excited. They want to go to that game, see the gold helmets. Large Catholic population in the Midwest that roots for these guys. So, but I think they gotta jump in the boat and not get left behind. And I think that they have to. I think that they're smarter than they're letting on, and they're going to join the Big Ten pretty quickly. But Nevada, your thoughts on Notre Dame? Again, Don Schaefer, Scoop Ultra member, and again, also thank you for the 10 once again. Do you think the latest discussions regarding the new 14-team playoff format, the specified discussions with ND would mean ND may be able to stay independent? I can't see any way they stay independent, but what say you?
Yeah. Well, look, in every format right now, by being independent, they've automatically foregone any chance of a first-round bye. So they're already disadvantaging themselves in terms of the football world. And that might be a price that they're willing to pay to stay independent. But what's happening is, as we've been telling you now for years, what's eventually is going to be, it's going to be only 2 conferences left. And when there were 6 and people were like, there's not going to only be 2. Look at all, you've got the Pac-12, you got the ACC, you got the Big, these guys aren't going around. Well, the Pac-12's gone, and they went really, really fast. And I'm telling you, the ACC is dead. Rest in peace, ACC. They are dead. So the only thing that's holding back the Big Ten and the SEC from completely flexing up on everybody and just making it 2 super conferences is they just don't want the blowback. They don't want the political blowback. Because they've got to kind of thread the needle to do this and not appear to be the big bullies. But that's where it's going. And that's why the story ends. And so when the story ends with either you're in the Big Ten or the SEC or you're not playing for the big ball, Notre Dame's going to have no choice. And so I think the choice is going to be made for them. Obviously, it's going to be to the Big Ten. I don't think they have any other cards to play. And I think they recognize the inevitability. But I think the Big Ten is just taking this gingerly so they're not appearing to be the big bullies on this thing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's going to go down quick, and it's going to be really, really, really excited. So, again, Notre Dame joining the Big Ten, just another feather in the cap. I mean, along with SC and Oregon, it's going to be Florida State potentially. It's going to be awesome. Duke, Carolina. Big Ten's about to be nasty, and it's going to be awesome for basketball, too. So I'm excited about that, even though nobody seems to care about basketball. Well, Nevada, appreciate you, my man. Let's wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, just appreciate 30,000. You guys you have no idea how excited we were when we went over. We were like following every sub to kind of get there. And refresh. But thank you guys so much. It was it's an amazing journey. We're now obviously setting our goals much, much higher, but just really wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you to everybody. We're going to continue to work hard for you we like this to be your, hour and a half, 2-hour Buckeye wrap up of everything that went on in the Ohio State world for the previous 24 hours. That's what we want this to be for you. This kind of appointment television. And we'll do this again tomorrow night, and we'll have the latest on coaching changes, on player stuff, on inside information, on recruiting, whatever's topical, we'll bring it to you, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys so very much. Again, this has been awesome. What a ride to 30,000. Thank you guys so much. Again, looking forward to meeting you guys April 13th, the day of the spring game. Come down early, spend the night. Tony Turley is. A bunch of guys are flying in. 9 a.m., they're going to open the doors of Buffalo Wild Wings at Lane and High Street. A 5-minute walk, a brisk 5-minute walk to Ohio Stadium from there. 9 to 11:30. We will be there having a blast meeting you guys. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you guys show up in droves. I think it'll be awesome. As always, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. We appreciate you guys so very much for all you do for this channel. This was a huge episode, another huge one, because you guys made it one. Again, it's all about you guys. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for the excellent super chats, the great questions tonight, great interactivity in the chat. Again, we can't tell you how much we appreciate you guys and all you guys do on here. Again, I just very grateful, humble, love this community, love you guys interacting. Obviously this is a family operation. I got my wife in here moderating. Nevadabuck is, my best friend. So we work hand in hand together, try to bring you guys great content every single night. So we appreciate you guys so very much for being a part of it, as always. So shout out where you guys are watching from, and shout out who you guys are watching with. Again, I always get a kick out of seeing people that are watching in Dubai, Taiwan, Indonesia, North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Texas, Montana, California, Colorado, obviously Ohio, the easy one. My Southern Ohio boys, appreciate all of you. Still thinking about all of our folks that were affected by the tornadoes. We're thinking about you each and every day. Praying for you guys. I hope that you guys can get everything back together as soon as possible, get back to normalcy. But I appreciate all of you guys that are on here, as always. So, as always, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. We'll be on at 7 o'clock tomorrow. March Madness is tipping off tomorrow, so get ready to rock. It's going to be a great weekend of college hoops. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and go Bucks.